Hello everyone, I'm Tracy Derwin and I'm here with Shane Buell. In today's video, we're going to be going over Hurricane Erin, which was a Category 5 hurricane, and was the fastest or most rapidly intensifying hurricane of the Atlantic to date. And as of this year, it is the strongest hurricane. And we're going to provide some information showing the aerosol injections that could have been used to strengthen this hurricane. And this hurricane is planning to hit the eastern banks of North Carolina. And there are now evacuation orders for that area because they're expecting a storm surge and high waves to hit the coast. So yeah, I'll let you, Shane, go from there.
All right. Yeah, and not only are there evacuations in that area of North Carolina, but they've actually done over 100 water rescues along the entire East Coast. And I believe and those are because of riptides. And I believe there has been one fatality already due to riptides. All right, so as Tracy said, this is the most rapidly intensifying hurricane of Atlantic history. And the models all completely failed to predict its speed of intensification. So here we see all the models that show it. One model showed it reaching Category 5 eventually, but this hurricane actually took off and went straight to Category 5 from a tropical storm. And it did so within about 20 hours, actually. And I have a graphic here that shows the evolution of the storm from tropical storm to hurricane within just 20 hours. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is the purple area to the southwest of the hurricane, which is very strange. There's a lot of convective activity out in front of the hurricane. And I do believe that to be somewhat anomalous, although we have seen it with Hurricane Milton and Hurricane Otis as well. And I will go into some of the reasons here soon why I think that might be. All right. So at 915 millibars, it had surpassed the Australian cyclone Erin as the most powerful storm to form on Earth thus far. So it is the most powerful tropical cyclone of 2025. And not only did it have the lowest pressure, but it also had surface wind gusts of over 200 miles per hour, with one of which being measured at 206 miles per hour in the eye wall. Now, speaking of the eye wall, this is a view from the hurricane hunters that flew inside of it. And at this point, the eye wall was about 5 miles across, which is a very small eye wall. And it eventually made it to the point where it was only 2.5 miles across. Now, the stronger the hurricane, you'll typically see a smaller eye wall. And this was one of the smallest on record, actually. So it was only 2.5 miles wide, which was actually more narrow than the eye wall of Hurricane Milton, which was 3 miles wide. And it was almost as narrow as the eye wall of Hurricane Wilma, which was only 2 miles wide. All right, so now this hurricane is predicted to curve north, and it has started to do so. It had a couple of wobbles to the west, which were scaring a lot of people, but it is still basically on track to curve north and then eastward. However, we see here, according to the wind field graphic, that about Wednesday evening, it is going to be impacting the eastern Cape of like Cape Hatteras and those areas of North Carolina. Now, one thing I also want to mention that's not really being covered is that Bermuda is going to be impacted even more so. We just don't hear about that on the United States media. All right, so now that brings me into some of the things that I think could have helped this storm intensify so rapidly. So I have a loop that I want to play, and this shows the storm while it's still basically a tropical storm. And then you see some aerosol injection. Now, this could be surface aerosol injection or stratospheric aerosol injection, but I did find some correlations that show that this might actually be injections from the surface. So here we see Erin weakening, and then right after that, there are some more injections or convective activity that appears to be taking place at the surface. And I will show that here in a minute. But here you can see as it rolls on, it's like intensifying as these injections are occurring. And then let's see, I hear some more injected convective activity, and the hurricane spawns into like a Category 5. And so now as it rolls along, it's going to approach the Lesser Antilles and Puerto Rico. But as it does so, we see more of these little surface convections that are taking place. Now, these surface convections can be injected from aerosol injections of surface ships and or atmospheric aerosol injection. Now, the GOES-19 satellite was actually down for this period of time, so I wasn't able to see any of the aerial activity. But here we see a Category 5 storm with a very large convective activity out in front of it. All right, so now I want to show some stuff that I looked into. So in that area where the convections were occurring, we had some tanker ships, also known as bunker ships, which were actually idling out in the middle of the storm. Now you can see here, this is only traveling at 2 knots. This is the Sandpiper, and this is actually located exactly in an area where convective activity was occurring, which I will show shortly. We also have the Lady Bower, which was also way out in the middle of the storm, and there is convective activity in that area, as well as the Nave Cetus. These are all tanker ships which carry something called bunker fuel. This is the same fuel that fuels these ships, and they can basically sit idle almost endlessly in the middle of a storm. Now, I did actually look farther out away from the coast, but the position and speed were unavailable for these particular ships. Now, this is actually new to the app. The app used to show you this, but it doesn't do that anymore because it's put the satellite information behind a paywall. So they've made it harder for people to see the locations and the speeds of these ships when they're out in the middle of the ocean. Now, I want to show a graphic and animation here that I've overlaid 2 different maps. So this is a map of the hurricane and a map of the location of the Sandpiper. Now, these are actually both taken at the same time, and we can see that the Sandpiper is located just off the northeast coast of Puerto Rico. Now, here is another image of this. This is the low-level water vapor images on College of DuPage, and you can see right off the eastern tip of Puerto Rico, there's some convective activity that's taking place exactly where the Sandpiper was located. We have seen this kind of activity before, and that actually occurred during Hurricane Otis back in October of 2023, just before Halloween. Hurricane Otis went from a tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane and then struck Acapulco, and then broke up immediately afterwards. So one thing I wanted to point out is that Hurricane Otis also had these similar surface aerosol injections going on. And I have a video by Bruce Douglas who first pointed this out. And I'm going to show that here.
Let's take a look. We're going to slow it down here. So this is the tropical storm. And I'm seeing these little sudden bursts of clouds going and then dissipating. Like it looks like they're trying to whip something up. I see this burst right here happening. And so here's a little burst, kind of coming out of nowhere, But what's most interesting is what happens when a big aerosol comes in from the side. All the yellow is extremely dense material. And then there's 5 hours missing, and then it suddenly jumps into a hurricane, like within a short amount of time. Within a few hours' time, it spins up. And as it moves closer to shore, it speeds up into a full, Class 5 hurricane. Kaboom, it nails Acapulco, quickly breaks up.
All right, so special thanks to Bruce Douglas for pointing that out and making me aware of this phenomenon. And so what we saw in that video was a surface aerosol injection from a bunker ship that caused a lot of convective activity to rapidly intensify Hurricane Otis. All right, so now we have also seen that again with Hurricane Milton, which occurred right after Hurricane Helene just last fall. And I'm going to show that here. So here, this is the beginning stages of Hurricane Milton where it was intensifying, and we see what looks like some convective activity being injected from the side. Now, there is actually some proof that there was bunker ships involved with this, and I want to give a shout out to Real Fishing Life for catching this on the maps.
Greenpeace obviously knows about these bunker ships that's in the ocean. That looks like forest fires. Just one of 2 pictures of bunker ships that I do have. There is literally hundreds of these ships out on the Gulf of Mexico with unlimited power, like I showed in my previous video of fuel. I really think all this individual stuff's bunker ships out here. Let's look at the marine tracker, see if there's any idle out here. Okay, warriors, at 12 minutes, I appreciate y'all, but this is truly what makes me angry. Super tankers sitting here out of gear. What are they doing? right in the middle of a hurricane, going to take it out of gear. Right here is where the hurricane is creating, where I think all the smoke is coming from. Every one of these red ones are super tankers. Every single one of these red ones. 12 knots, that one's moving. But who said they can't be moving with the smoke? 2 knots, he ain't going nowhere. Two knots, he's not going anywhere. What is going on out here where these hurricanes are? 1.2 knots, he's not going anywhere. Why are all these super tankers sitting out here in the ocean not moving? Where the storm is being built. They have ships out here pumping this material out. There's no reason for these ships to be out of gear at 1 knot. Super tankers. Bunker ships. They're controlling our weather. Got all the bunker ships out here to do it. That one's at 12 knots. I believe all the ones at 12 knots and all, that's cruising speed. They're going somewhere. But these ones at 1 knot doesn't make any sense. There's tons of 1 knotters out here. 1 knot's you walk faster than that. This is a land grab. There's a target on the people. We are being attacked, and it's worldwide, my friends.
All right. So what we saw there was a heavy amount of what I would call surface aerosol injection involved with the rapid intensification of Hurricane Milton. And we've seen similar things with Otis, and we've now seen the same thing with Hurricane Erin as well.
And we did 2 videos on Milton that we could link in the description too.
Yes, we did do a video on Hurricane Milton. And one other thing that I wanted to point out is that hurricane seeding has been going on since at least 1946. But in the 1960s, there was a project called Project Storm Fury, which was specifically for seeding hurricanes. And one of the guys who was involved in the Vietnam operations with Operation Popeye was also part of Project Storm Fury. And I'm going to play a clip of him talking about that here.
My name is Ben Livingston. I'm the first person to ever seed a cloud with the intention to cause it to do military damage. From Kingsville, they sent me to the Hurricane Hunter Squadron in Jacksonville, Florida. That squadron, of course, had just become involved in Project Storm Fury. So when I reported to that duty station as a meteorological engineer, I was immediately designated the military member of the Storm Fury Advisory Board. We were the first ones to fly into hurricanes for the purpose of modifying them, if you will. That was Project Storm Fury. I began to be extremely confident that we could do whatever about what we wanted to with a hurricane. The Project Storm Fury had been going on since 1961, and they had already done, or had done 2 experiments, one in 61 and 63. Well, by 1964, when I was there in 1964, I wrote the plan and started to have a track and a mission for every flight that was on the hurricane cloud seeding experiments. So we had documentation for everything. Operations at Project Storm Fury are very positive. I was the acting commanding officer at the Corona Naval Weapons Research Center. My main contribution at Corona was to write a plan for weather modification control for the whole world.
Yeah. And one further thing I wanted to point out is that with the funds that were made available for Project Storm Fury, they ended up creating a whole new entity of government called the National Hurricane Center. So the National Hurricane Center was actually born out of a weather control project.
And then I want to mention we write extensively on those technologies in our book, Sound the Alarm. And we do have a dedicated video as well on these weather systems. We could link in the description as well if you want to hear more about that, because there's a lot more information on Project Storm Fury than we went over right now.
Yeah. And I would, if I could, like to take this opportunity to let our viewers know that I've started a channel of my own, which can be found at Shane Buell, The Missing Link, where I bring forward missing, hidden, and rediscovered information from a wide range of topics that the media won't cover and the missing links between them. So if you could go check out my channel, I would really appreciate it.
And you're going to link that in the description.
Yeah, we can link that in the description for our viewers.
Is that it?
And that's all I have for today.
All right, thank you, Shane, so much for putting all that helpful information together. If you haven't subscribed, please do so before you leave. And please share this video, because this type of information is often, censored or held back by YouTube. So please share this information. And thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll continue to follow the upcoming storms and hurricanes. It's still fairly early in hurricane season, so I'm sure we have more to come. So we're on top of it, and we'll report on anything that we feel is necessary. So with that, thank you guys so much for being here, and we'll see you all soon. Bye.